Hello, I'm Sanat Kumar. I'm your tutor for IELTS coaching. I have about 25 years of experience in teaching, and specifically for IELTS, I have about 10 years of teaching and training. Well, IELTS is a very unique test, and it's a very popular test all over the globe. IELTS is used for migration purposes to English-speaking countries as well as for higher education in these countries. IELTS stands for International English Language Testing System. And this is designed and produced by the Cambridge University and is administered by the British Council as well as IDP Australia. The students have the option of taking this test through any one of these two organizations, IDP Australia or British Council. Now let's try to understand in this presentation a little more in depth about the IELTS test. IELTS test essentially comprises of 4 tests extending to about less than 3 hours. The 4 tests are listening, reading, writing, and speaking. We'll understand each one of these in more detail in a while. Listening and reading are the input skills where you gain the knowledge required regarding the language. You learn more about the language by listening to others as well as from reading books and other articles. Writing and speaking are your productive skills. They produce the output. So by effectively using the input skills, you tend to produce the output skills of writing and speaking. So in order to improve your writing and speaking, you should in fact be doing more of listening and reading. Now let's understand each one of these tests in a little more detail. IELTS is essentially a language test. But there are lots of strategies and techniques which are involved, which comprise to almost 50% of your test taking. Your language is of course paramount because that is the focus. But more than the knowledge of the language, the way you understand IELTS, the formats of the assessments, the test taking strategies, your attitude and the techniques adopted for each of the tests helps you score better. And believe me, it's not very difficult to master these skills. Once you understand the techniques of the test taking, it becomes very easy for you to gain control over your performance. Now let's look at the 4 tests individually. Listening is for about 40 minutes, where you need to answer about 40 questions in about 4 sections. You have 30 minutes to listen to the tape script and then 10 minutes to transfer your answers to the answer sheet. You must answer the 40 questions while you are listening to the conversations. The type of questions that will be asked will include fill in the blanks, labeling a diagram, multiple choice questions, and statement completion questions. Listening is in fact divided into 4 different conversations. The first conversation being more transactional, maybe between a customer service representative and the customer, or maybe a post office scenario, or a product selling scenario, or an inquiry scenario in some office. The second conversation would be an academic conversation between 2 or 3 people. The third will be a monologue, and the fourth will be a lecture. So there are 4 sections or conversations which you need to listen to. And as you listen, you need to note down your answers. And you will be given 10 minutes to transfer these answers to your answer sheet. Reading is for 1 hour. You need to complete 40 questions in 1 hour. For academic reading test, there are 3 passages, and for general training or for PR, there are 5 passages. The type of questions will include fill in the blanks, multiple choice, true, false or not given, yes, no, not given, choose the correct headings, and others. Now, in fact, the variations in the type of questions is so wide, but normally the questions are asked within the scope of these variations. Writing is for 1 hour. It comprises of 2 tasks. For academic, task 1 and task 2. Task 1 includes interpretation or summarizing a graph or a diagram or map or any such process chart, and task 2 on an essay. For general training or PR, the task 1 consists of letter writing, and task 2 is of essay writing. Writing will focus on your sentence structure, correct grammar, the vocabulary used, punctuations, and the general flow of your writing. Speaking is for about 11 to 14 minutes, comprising of 3 sections. Section 1 including your introduction and a few general questions about yourself. Section 2 is through a cue card where a topic is given and you're given a couple of questions to answer. So you need to speak for about 2 minutes non-stop for this section, which is also called a long turn section. Now part 3 is mostly on the same topic as part 2, but it's more of a discussion. There would be a few questions, 4 or 5 questions, which will be asked to dig more into the particular topic, giving you an opportunity to take a stand, to explain yourself, or express your opinion, or put in your arguments. So this would be the 4 different tests, and we'll look at each one of these tests in a little more detail. Now, a very essential in IELTS is to be able to understand the 4 assessment criteria. There are, of course, scores between several bands ranging from 0 to 9, but for all practical purposes, the targeted scores are between 6 to 8. For most of the purposes, a score of 7 to 8 would be more than sufficient. Now, the 4 assessment criteria are task achievement, coherence and cohesion, lexical resource, and grammatical range and accuracy. Now, task achievement is in fact all about completing the task in its entirety. When a question is asked, it is important for you to understand the question and to be able to answer the question in full. So, the criteria that are looked at in this particular assessment is addresses all parts of the task, presents a clear position throughout the response, presents, extends and supports main ideas, Though there may be a tendency to overgeneralize or supporting ideas lacking in a little bit of focus. But that's okay for getting a good score. Coherence and cohesion is all about the ability of the speaker or the writer to present his thoughts with clarity and in a logical flow and manner. So it comprises of several criteria such as logically organizing information and ideas, having a clear progression throughout. He may use a range of cohesive devices appropriately, although there may be some under or overuse, but is able to present a clear central topic within each paragraph. That is, you're able to structure it well, you're able to take the logic of your presentation in a proper manner to progressing to a logical conclusion. Lexical resource is about the vocabulary. What is the range of the vocabulary that you're able to use? Are you using appropriate words in the right context? It is not enough to keep using simple words all the while. So are you able to access a mid-level complex words as well as high-level complex words when the context warrants it? Uses a sufficient range of vocabulary to allow some flexibility and precision. Uses less common lexical items with some awareness of style and collocation. May produce occasional errors in word choice, spelling, or word formation. The fourth is grammatical range and accuracy, which involves your sentence structures, gender and number agreement, subject-verb agreement, your clauses, simple or complex sentences, using your prepositions and conjunctions correctly, and to be able to present your thoughts with clarity. Now, looking at the score, the IELTS band score is a straightforward calculation. You have 4 tests and you will be scored between 0 and 9 in each of these tests. These will be totaled up and will be divided by 4, which will give you the average band score. And if it requires to be rounded up, you will get the benefit of getting the next higher rounded figure. Now the band score is of this scale, ranging from did not attempt the test to expert user. Mostly we would focus on the range between 6 and 8 to qualify for a good score. The first, listening test. Now, listening test has 4 sections. The first section being real-life conversation. As was said earlier, it could be a customer service situation, or an inquiry situation, a product return situation, or a post office or a railway station, a service situation. The first 10 questions are likely to be on this first recording. Recording 2 would be on a real-life monologue, talking about any topic. The third recording would be an academic conversation between 2 or 3 people. And the fourth would be an academic lecture. And you would be given 10 minutes to transfer the answers to the answer sheet. The skills that would be tested in listening are you making the right assumptions when you're able to infer the answers? Are you able to understand the alphabet in full? Are you able to distinguish similar sounds? Listening for descriptions fully? Time expressions, frequency expressions, similar meanings between words, identifying and understanding emotions, listening for an explanation, classifications, comparisons and contrasts, and looking for negative meaning. Now, certain tips that you should probably adhere to before attempting the listening test. Read before you listen. Predict the answer in your mind. Read as you listen. Focus on the question that is being asked. Don't leave the question at the end. Please complete the question as and when you get it. Practice your shorthand. Do not try to write the answers in full. Let's note down the key letters or keywords which would help you remember the answer in full. Check your spelling when you write your answers. Don't write the answer too quickly. Think about it well. Don't leave any blank answers and listen for repeated information. Now, reading. 60 minutes of test. There would be 3 passages in terms of the academic test or 5 passages in terms of the PR or general test. 40 questions in all. Answers must be written on the answer sheet. There is no transferring in this case. You could divide the 60 minutes into 15 minutes of reading the passages, 40 minutes to attempt the 40 questions, about 1 minute per question, 15 seconds to read and understand the question, reading the passage again to find the information in 30 seconds, and think carefully and concluding the answer in the next 15 minutes. Look out for the title, headings. Reading is not about reading the entire thing many times and trying to understand. It won't work that way because time management is critical. You would have very little time if you want to do all the questions. So look out for the title, headings, and any special features such as capital letters, underlining, italics, figures, graphs, and tables, which should give you a cue on what it's all about. Allocate proper time so that you keep moving on. If you don't know the answer to a question, attempt it, but do not waste your time. Move quickly to the next one. Check your spelling. Use singular and plural correctly. Pay attention to the word limit. Now, there could be many types of questions that will be asked. Multiple choice, identifying what kind of information there is, identifying the writer's view, matching information, matching headings, matching features, matching sentence endings, sentence completions, summary note table flowchart completion, diagram or label completion, short answer questions. It could be many more from which the questions could be chosen. Now, writing is of 2 tasks. The first one, in terms of academic stream, is of describing a picture or a diagram or a map or a process. You need to write for about 20 minutes. The word limit is about 150 minimum. For the task 2, it's an essay type of question, which could be an argument, expressing an opinion, describing something. It would be of about 250 words minimum and for about 40 minutes. So when you write, the structure of your writing is very important. So introduction, then you could give overview of what you're going to say, then paragraph 3, paragraph 4, and then conclusion. Introduction could be general statements or essay statements which is related to the essay topic. Then you could write 2 or 3 paragraphs with a topic sentence, supporting details, and concluding sentence, and a concluding section where you restate the main points and final comments or recommendations. Now, some of the common themes for speaking are entertainment, health or fitness, travel, technology, food, education, social media, public transport, language or culture, hobbies and games, or families and friends. Now, there would be 3 parts to the speaking test. Part 1 is about introduction and a brief interview with 4 or 5 questions, lasting about 5 minutes. Part 2 is of the long term, where the candidate needs to speak for about 2 minutes non-stop. He will be given a cue card, 1 minute to prepare, and then 2 minutes to speak on that. Part 3 is a two-way discussion. Questions will be posed to the candidate and the answers will be evaluated. Now, the training methodology, therefore, has to be twofold. One is the training on the language aspect, including grammar, vocabulary, and such things. But the other is on strategy and techniques of the test taking. So, we focus on assessment criteria so that you understand the assessments properly. You understand what needs to be done in order to score better. Give you a lot of practice and exercises so that you become fit enough to take the test. Separate streams of learning for structure, strategy, and planning. Vocabulary, grammar, fluency, and pronunciation in terms of speaking. Power words, complex sentences, phrases, idioms, and expressions for writing better. Grammar would consist majorly of subject-verb agreement, consistency of tenses, articles usage, prepositions and conjunctions, sentences formation, independent and dependent clauses, and noun and verb forms. Now, the indicative syllabus is given here. There's an introduction topic with which we start the course. Then we talk about writing, introduction to writing. Then we explain the writing task, including grammar and vocabulary to be used. Then we do practice exercises and review them. Similarly, we go on for speaking, introductions, explanation with grammar and vocabulary, then practice exercises for speaking, and then to reading, introduction, explanation with grammar and vocabulary, practice exercises done, and then finally on to listening test. Then we end the course with the final test for each. We can also do specific skills. Of course, it would still be about 30 hours. I would recommend that because the kind of intensity and focus is required where we do in much more depth about that particular skill. Thank you.